You know, there is this incredibly common feeling, and it is just so frustrating. You read English perfectly.
Oh, yeah. So many people experience that.
Right. I mean, you understand almost every single word in your favorite movie. You can listen to the news, you follow the plot of a really complex novel, and you even write these detailed emails for work.
Exactly. The comprehension is all there.
It is entirely there. But the second you open your mouth to speak to a native speaker, your brain just completely freezes.
Just shuts down.
It shuts down. It is like all that knowledge just vanishes into thin air. And if you are listening to this right now, I mean, you have probably felt this exact frustration.
Well, I would say almost every learner feels this at some point.
Yeah. You know the language is in there somewhere, but you just cannot get it out. So today, we are looking at why your brain creates that freeze response.
And more importantly, how to fix it.
Exactly. We are going to show you a completely new approach to practicing, specifically just 10 minutes of physical mouth mechanics a day, and how that can finally break the lock.
Which is such a relief, honestly.
It really is. So, welcome to our deep dive. Today, our mission is simple. We are pulling from some fantastic insights shared on the Emma's English channel source material.
Really great material there.
Yeah, and we are using it to build you a highly practical, beginner-friendly blueprint for speaking. We want to keep the pace nice and easy today so everything is super clear.
I think that is a great approach because, it is a profound frustration. You spend years consuming the language. You pour vocabulary and grammar rules into your mind.
Right, all that input.
Right. But when you are suddenly put on the spot, when another human being is looking at you, just waiting for a response.
The pressure is intense.
It is. And the bridge between knowing the word and physically saying the word just completely collapses. We need to completely unpack why that happens before we can actually fix it.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission today is to show you exactly how to unlock your spoken English.
And it is not by doing something drastic.
No, definitely not. Not by moving to an English-speaking country, and not by studying for 3 hours a day until you are completely exhausted.
So do not do that.
Yeah, please do not. We're going to show you how to fundamentally change your brain's relationship with English using just 10 minutes a day.
10 minutes. That is the magic number.
That is the anchor for this whole deep dive, 10 minutes a day. But to understand why 10 minutes is actually enough, we really need to diagnose what is going wrong in the first place.
Right.
The source material we're looking at today calls this the silent brain syndrome.
The silent brain syndrome. I mean, it is the perfect name for it, really.
It really is.
Because it captures the sheer paralysis of the moment. You have all this vocabulary stored up. You understand the mechanics of the language on a theoretical level.
Sir, you know the rules.
Yeah, you know the rules.
Right.
But when it comes time for output, the whole system just shuts down. The teacher from our source material uses a very evocative analogy for this. She describes the English inside your head as being like a bird trapped inside a cage.
Oh, I thought about that analogy a lot after reading the source.
It sticks with you, does it not?
It does.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful image, but it is also quite tragic, honestly, because, the bird is not injured.
No, not at all.
It is perfectly healthy. It has fully formed wings, and it intrinsically knows exactly how to fly.
But it cannot.
Right. Because it is surrounded by iron bars, it cannot go anywhere. It is just fluttering around inside there, totally trapped.
And that is exactly what your vocabulary is doing when you freeze. The words are alive and well inside your memory. But the cage, which, psychologically speaking, is often a combination of anxiety, a lack of physical muscle memory, and cognitive overload.
That is a heavy combination.
It really is. And that cage prevents the words from flying out of your mouth.
I want to build on that concept for a second, because while the bird analogy explains the feeling perfectly, I think we can look at the actual mechanics of the brain a bit more like a highly secure bank vault.
Oh, a bank vault. I like that.
Yeah, think about how you have been learning English so far. You read articles, you listen to audio, you watch movies.
Like all that passive consumption.
Exactly. That input mechanism works flawlessly. The information walks right through the front door, it goes down the elevator, and it gets locked safely inside the vault.
So the money is in the bank.
The money is in the bank. The problem is not the input. The problem is that the output mechanism, that heavy steel door that lets the money back out into circulation, it is completely jammed.
That is a highly accurate way to look at it from a cognitive perspective.
Yeah.
Because when you are reading or listening, you are relying on passive recognition.
Right.
Your brain only has to identify the word and recall its meaning. But speaking requires active retrieval and physical coordination.
It is a totally different skill.
Entirely different. You have to find the word in the vault, drag it out, attach it to the right grammar rule, and then send a signal to your vocal cords, your tongue, and your lips to physically produce the sound.
That is a lot of steps.
It is a massive amount of steps. And if you have not practiced that specific pathway, the vault door just stays shut.
So it is less about stuffing more words into the vault, right? And more about paving a faster, smoother neurological road to the words that are already sitting there.
Exactly. The words are there.
Which brings us to the biggest question. If the words are stuck in the vault, how do we oil the hinges?
Right.
How do we get the door to swing open easily on command?
Well, the answer requires a fundamental shift in how you view language practice.
Okay.
It is not about intensity. It is about frequency. The solution is not to study harder or longer. The solution is to change your daily interaction with the language.
And this is where the core philosophy of our deep dive really comes in, the 10-minute daily rule.
Yes, the 10-minute rule.
10 minutes. Now, I know there are listeners right now rolling their eyes.
Oh, absolutely.
They are thinking, I have a massive presentation to give in English next month. Or I have a huge exam coming up. 10 minutes is nothing.
It sounds too easy.
It does. We have been deeply conditioned by the traditional school system to believe that learning requires suffering.
Yes. The no pain, no gain mentality.
Right. We think we need massive volume. We think if we are not sitting at a desk for 3 straight hours, surrounded by highlighters and thick grammar textbooks until our eyes blur, we are not really learning.
It is the classic weekend cram session trap.
Oh, the weekend cram. We all know that one.
You know how it goes. You busy during the week. You feel terribly guilty about not opening your English book on Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday.
The guilt just builds up.
It does. So to punish yourself and to supposedly make up for lost time, you vow to study for 4 hours straight on Sunday afternoon.
Right.
But our source material makes a crucial, scientifically backed argument against this. Consistency will always defeat volume.
Consistency over volume.
Always.
Yeah.
Practicing for 10 dedicated minutes every single day is exponentially more effective than binge studying for hours once a week.
I really want to dig into the why behind that. Because, why is a short daily burst more effective than a massive weekly marathon? Let's look at the math. If I spend 4 hours on Sunday, that is 240 minutes.
Right.
But if I do 10 minutes a day for a week, that is only 70 minutes. Mathematically, I am spending way less time. So how does that result in better speaking?
Well, to understand that, we have to stop looking at speaking as an academic subject, like history or math.
Okay.
And we need to start treating it as a physical, athletic skill. In the source material, they compare speaking English to playing the piano.
The piano. Okay, I like this.
You would not expect to become a concert pianist just by reading a book about how pianos work, right?
No, of course not. You have to touch the keys.
Exactly. You have to sit on the bench and physically move your fingers across the keys. Speaking English is exactly the same. It requires physical muscle memory.
That is fascinating. We rarely think about talking as a physical workout.
But it really is.
It is, isn't it? Your mouth, your tongue, your lips, the airflow from your lungs, they all have to learn entirely new choreographies to produce English sounds. Sounds that might not even exist in your native language.
Precisely. You are dealing with incredibly fine motor skills. When you learn to speak a new language, you are literally building new neural pathways in your brain that connect directly to the muscles in your face.
Wow.
Yeah. There is a biological process called myelination, where the brain wraps these frequently used neural pathways in a protective sheath, and that makes the signals travel faster and more efficiently.
So it literally upgrades the wiring.
Exactly. But myelination does not happen from a 4-hour cram session. It happens through consistent daily repetitive activation.
So you have to fire the signal every day.
Yes. If you do not fire those specific English muscles every single day, the pathways weaken. A marathon session on Sunday just leaves you cognitively exhausted.
And stressed.
But 10 minutes every day builds permanent structural changes in your brain and your physical muscle memory.
Okay, I hear the science behind that, and it makes complete logical sense. But I am going to push back a little bit on behalf of the listener here.
Sure, go ahead.
Let's say I am an incredibly busy parent. I have a demanding 9-to-5 job. I have a long commute. I have groceries to buy and kids to put to bed.
A very normal, very busy life.
Right. By the time I have a free second to breathe, it is 10:30 at night, and I am absolutely exhausted. The thought of doing anything productive feels totally impossible.
I get that.
Even 10 minutes feels like a mountain. So Is 5 minutes on a random Tuesday night really going to do anything? Is it going to move the needle?
It is a highly relatable reality. When you are running on empty, learning a language feels like a luxury you just cannot afford.
Yeah.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture,
Okay.
if we connect this to the bigger picture of psychology and habit formation, we see why those 5 or 10 minutes are vital, especially on the days you really do not want to do them.
Even when you are exhausted.
Especially in. Because when you are that exhausted, your goal during those 10 minutes is not to conquer a new grammar tense.
Right.
It is not to memorize 50 flashcards. The goal is simply to prevent the vault door from rusting shut.
The goal is just to keep the hinges oiled. It is maintenance, not necessarily massive expansion.
Exactly. Every single day that you do not physically produce an English sound, the door to that vault gets a little heavier.
And harder to open.
And the anxiety around speaking grows a little larger.
Mm-hmm.
If you go a full 5 days without speaking, by the time Saturday rolls around, the door is almost impossible to pry open. Your brain has basically labeled English as inactive.
It just archives it.
Exactly.
Right.
But if you spend just 5 or 10 minutes every day opening and closing that door, just speaking a few phrases out loud, you are sending a continuous signal to your nervous system.
You are telling your brain this is important.
You are telling your brain, English is a daily necessary part of my survival. Keep these neural pathways active.
You know, that completely changes the psychological pressure of learning. I do not have to be a perfect, glowing student every day.
No, you do not.
I just have to show up for 10 minutes to keep the door from rusting. That lowers the barrier to entry so much. It turns this terrifying chore into just a manageable daily habit.
And that consistency is the absolute bedrock of the blueprint we are building today. Once you accept that 10 minutes is enough, well, the next logical question is, how do you extract the maximum possible value out of those 10 minutes?
Right, because if we only have 10 minutes, we definitely cannot waste it staring at a textbook.
No.
We need highly efficient, really targeted tools. And the source material provides a fantastic progression for this, starting with how we handle input.
Yeah.
But it is a complete redefinition of how most people consume English.
We have to draw a hard line here between passive listening and active listening. Most language learners rely heavily on passive listening, which is comfortable, sure, but it is ultimately ineffective for producing speech.
Okay, let's define passive listening so we are entirely clear. That is when you have English acting as an ambient soundtrack to your life, right?
Basically, yes.
Like you are driving to work, you are navigating heavy traffic, and you have an English audio playing in the background. Or you are scrubbing the kitchen counter with the TV tuned to an English news channel.
Right. You are hearing the sounds.
You might even catch the general meaning, but your primary attention is just somewhere else.
Exactly. Passive listening is wonderful for getting your ear accustomed to the general rhythm of the language, but it is an illusion of progress when it comes to speaking.
An illusion?
Yes, because you are acting purely as a receiver. Your mouth is closed, your vocal cords are resting, you are doing zero physical work.
Ah, right. No muscle memory.
None. If you want to transform from a listener into a speaker, you have to transition to active listening. And the source introduces a cornerstone technique for this. They call it shadowing.
Shadowing. Now, this is a technique that has gained a lot of traction recently, but I think it is often misunderstood.
It is.
The basic concept is that you become the speaker's vocal shadow. Just as your physical shadow on the sidewalk mimics your every movement instantly, your voice mimics the audio you are listening to.
Right.
The traditional method dictates that you repeat the sentence simultaneously, exactly as the native speaker is saying it.
You are overlapping your voice with theirs. You match their pace, their pauses, and their pitch.
But I will be honest, real-time shadowing sounds like an absolute nightmare for a beginner.
It is incredibly difficult.
I mean, if I queue up a fast-talking news anchor or a fast-paced audiobook and I try to speak over them at the exact same speed, I am going to stumble over my own tongue.
Oh, without a doubt.
I will get completely overwhelmed and probably throw my phone across the room in under a minute. It just induces panic.
Which is precisely why traditional simultaneous shadowing often causes beginners to quit. It spikes the cognitive load way past the brain's processing limit.
It is just too much data at once.
Exactly. Your brain is trying to hear a new word, translate it, process the grammar, and command your mouth to speak, all within a fraction of a second. It is too much.
So what is the alternative?
That is why the source material provides a crucial modification, tailored specifically for anyone who feels overwhelmed. They call it the listen, pause, and repeat method.
Listen, pause, and repeat. Okay, that instantly sounds less aggressive.
It is much more manageable.
Walk me through the mechanics of how I would do this during my 10-minute daily practice.
It introduces a safety valve into the exercise. First, you select a piece of audio. It should be something manageable, maybe a slightly slower audio track, or a dedicated English learning video.
Keep it simple.
Exactly. You listen to just one single sentence. For example, let's say the speaker says, "I am going to the park because the weather is beautiful."
Okay.
You listen to that sentence in its entirety. And then, and this is the critical step, you hit pause.
You physically stop the audio.
Yes.
You cut off the flow of new information.
Yes. By pressing pause, you eliminate the pressure of the impending next sentence. You create a quiet, safe vacuum. In that space, your brain does not have to process new input. It can dedicate 100% of its resources to output.
So the panic is gone.
The panic is gone. In that pause, you repeat the sentence out loud. "I am going to the park because the weather is beautiful."
But the source makes a very strong point here. You are not just reciting the words like a monotone robot reading a grocery list.
No, not at all.
You have to embody the phrase. You have to dive into the acoustic mechanics of what you just heard.
You are trying to capture the prosody of the language.
Prosody. Explain that.
Prosody is the rhythm, the stress, and the intonation of speech. Every language has its own unique musicality. English is a heavily stress-timed language. That means certain syllables take longer to say and they're louder, while others get squished together and said very quickly. If you just read the words with the flat rhythm of your native language, you will still sound unnatural, even if your grammar is absolutely flawless.
So it is an acting exercise as much as a language exercise.
It really is.
If the person on the audio sounds incredibly enthusiastic, I need to sound enthusiastic.
Match their energy.
If their voice goes up at the end of the sentence to show surprise, my voice needs to go up. I need to mimic the musical wave of their sentence.
Exactly. You are putting on a mask and pretending to be that native speaker. If they elongate the word beautiful, you elongate it. This forces your mouth to contort into the precise shapes required for authentic English pronunciation.
You are building that muscle we talked about.
Yes. When you do this, you are not just memorizing vocabulary. You are programming the neuromuscular pathways. Spending just 3 minutes of your 10-minute routine doing listen, pause, and repeat does more for your pronunciation and speaking confidence than an hour of passive listening.
It is the difference between watching someone swim on television and actually getting in the pool to practice your stroke.
A perfect analogy.
You are getting wet. You are doing the physical work.
You are building the physical capacity to produce the language.
All right, so we have our shadowing technique to build the physical muscle. But what about the vocabulary itself? How do we actually build the sentences? Because this brings us to a part of the source material that completely dismantles the way almost everyone was taught language in school.
It really challenges the traditional model.
The traditional method is actually creating the silent brain syndrome, isn't it?
It is a very systemic failure. Traditional education relies heavily on rote memorization of isolated vocabulary. Think back to your early English classes. You were given a massive list.
Oh, I remember.
On the left side of the page is the English word, and on the right side is the translation in your native language.
Yeah. Apple, banana, cat, dog.
Exactly.
And as you get more advanced, it becomes lists of abstract nouns and verbs. Decision, point, investigate. You memorize these single, isolated units until you can regurgitate them onto a test paper, and then the school rewards you with an A grade.
You are rewarded for your memory, but not for your functional utility.
That is a great way to put it.
Knowing a single word in a vacuum does absolutely nothing for your ability to deploy that word in real-time conversation. The isolated word is essentially useless when the pressure is on.
I really want to explore the psychology of why that is.
Sure.
If I have spent an hour memorizing the word decision, and I know exactly what it means, why does my brain freeze when I try to tell my coworker that I need to make a choice? Why cannot I just output the word?
Because of cognitive load.
Cognitive load.
Human working memory is incredibly limited. When you try to speak using isolated words, you force your brain into a state of high-speed mental gymnastics.
Right.
You have the word decision floating in your head, but you cannot just shout decision at your coworker.
That would be weird.
Very weird. You have to build a structure around it.
Right.
So your brain starts desperately searching its filing cabinets for the surrounding grammar.
Right. Do I use the verb make or do? Is it do a decision or make a decision?
Exactly. Then you have to figure out the articles. Is it a decision or the decision? What tense are we in?
It is overwhelming.
By the time your brain has retrieved the word, selected the verb, chosen the article, conjugated the tense, and arranged them in the correct syntactic order. 5 seconds have passed.
And 5 seconds is a long time.
In a real conversation, 5 seconds of dead silence is an eternity.
Yeah, it really is.
The other person has moved on. You missed your window, the anxiety spikes, and your brain learns that speaking is a traumatic, failing endeavor. So the vault locks tighter.
The mental gymnastics are just too demanding for real-time processing. So what is the alternative? How do we bypass this cognitive traffic jam?
The source material offers a brilliant, scientifically supported alternative. They call it chunking.
Chunking.
Instead of memorizing single, naked words, you learn chunks. A chunk is a phrase. It is a group of words that naturally and frequently occur together in native speech.
This is where the strategy gets incredibly practical. The source gives great examples. Instead of isolating the word decision, you learn the entire intact phrase, I need to make a decision. Instead of studying the word point, you learn the full conversational chunk. That is a good point.
This completely revolutionizes your processing speed. By learning the chunk, you entirely eliminate the mental gymnastics.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Oh, I love this part.
I really love the analogy our source uses here, comparing language to Lego blocks.
It's brilliant.
If we look at traditional vocabulary learning, single words are like individual, one-by-one Lego bricks.
Just tiny little pieces.
If you want to build a sentence, you have to find each individual brick, check the instructions to see how they fit together, which is the grammar, and painstakingly snap them together, while the person you are talking to just stares at you, waiting for you to finish building.
It is an agonizingly slow construction process.
It really is.
But chunks are entirely different. Chunks are pre-built Lego structures. They are the pre-assembled roof of the house or the fully built car door.
Exactly. The grammar is already baked into the chunk. You do not have to pause and debate between make and do. You do not have to stress over whether it is a or the. The structural integrity is already there.
You know it works.
You know the whole piece. I need to make a decision. When the moment arises in conversation, you do not build the sentence from scratch. You just reach into the vault, pick up that fully built Lego structure, and drop it smoothly into the conversation.
Native speakers rely almost entirely on chunking.
Really?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
They are not brilliantly fast at calculating grammar rules on the fly. They just have a massive inventory of pre-built phrases that they string together.
Like what?
Things like, how are you doing? Or, I am on my way. Let me get back to you. When you practice chunks, you are aligning your brain with the exact way native speakers process and produce language.
This is a huge sigh of relief for learners. It means you can stop buying massive vocabulary workbooks.
Save your money.
Right. Instead, take another 2 or 3 minutes of your daily 10-minute routine to write down and speak out loud 2 or 3 useful chunks. You are building a highly functional arsenal of pre-assembled phrases, ready to deploy at a moment's notice.
It is the most efficient way to lower your cognitive load and increase your fluency speed.
Okay, so we are building a really strong foundation here. We are shadowing to build the physical muscle memory, and we are loading our brains with pre-built Lego chunks to bypass grammar panic.
A great start.
But eventually, you have to practice stringing these things together in a fluid, unscripted way. And here is the biggest complaint we hear from listeners.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
They say, this is all great, but I live in a small town in a non-English speaking country. I work from home. I have absolutely zero access to native speakers. I have no one to talk to.
It is a very real logistical barrier. Not everyone can just walk outside and find an English speaker.
Yeah.
But the source material provides a profound workaround that requires no conversation partners, no travel, and no money. It is a technique they call entering English mode.
Entering English mode. It sounds a bit like flipping a switch on the back of your head.
Conceptually, that is exactly what you're doing. For a designated portion of your 10-minute practice, you make an uncompromising rule with yourself. Internal and external dialogue must exist solely in English.
Okay.
And since there is no one else in the room to converse with, the solution is simple, if a bit unconventional. You talk to yourself.
You literally narrate your own life out loud.
Yes.
The source suggests acting like a sports commentator calling a match or a narrator in a documentary, but the subject is just your mundane daily routine.
Yes. The example they use is making a cup of tea.
Okay, walk me through that.
You walk into your kitchen,
Right.
and you say out loud to an empty room, now, I am making tea. I'm filling the kettle. I need a spoon. Where's the sugar? Ah, I found it.
Now, the host in the source material brings up a very valid point here.
That it looks a bit crazy.
Yeah, he admits that this sounds a little bit ridiculous. If you live with your family or if you are walking down the street doing this, you are going to look mildly unhinged. You look like you are having an intense debate with a ghost.
It absolutely feels strange, and you might get some funny looks if you do it in the grocery store.
Probably.
That is why the recommendation is to do this during your isolated moments. Do it while you're in the shower. Narrate your drive to work while you are alone in the car. Do it while you are folding laundry in your bedroom.
Let's dig into the psychology of why we are doing this. If no one is listening and no one is correcting me, what is the actual benefit? Am I not just reinforcing my own mistakes?
The primary benefit here is not grammatical perfection. It is about lowering the affective filter.
The affective filter, what is that?
In linguistics, the affective filter is a theoretical psychological barrier that prevents learning and production when a student is stressed, anxious, or fearful of judgment.
Oh.
When you talk to yourself alone in the kitchen, the affective filter is at 0. There is no native speaker judging your accent. There is no teacher waiting to correct your verb tense. It is an entirely safe, threat-free environment.
So you are training your brain's retrieval mechanism without the chemical spike of cortisol and adrenaline that usually causes the freeze response.
Precisely. You are practicing the physical act of diving into the vault, finding the English word for kettle or spoon, and speaking it aloud, reinforcing the neural pathway in a state of complete calm.
You are proving to your brain that it is safe.
You are proving to your brain that speaking English does not have to be a high-stress event.
And the source material suggests taking this self-talk a step further by introducing role play. This is where you actually simulate a real-world interaction.
Role-playing is an incredibly powerful form of mental rehearsal. You imagine a specific high-stress scenario, like ordering food at a busy restaurant or answering a phone call at work, and you act out both sides of the dialogue.
Both sides.
Yes. You play the waiter, and then you play yourself, the customer.
I can imagine setting the scene in my kitchen. I pretend to hold a notepad. Hello, welcome. What would you like to order today?
Right.
And then I physically step to the other side of the counter and answer myself. Hi, I will have the chicken pasta, please, and a glass of sparkling water.
Exactly. You are practicing the back-and-forth volley of a conversation.
Let's look closely at why simulating a restaurant order in my kitchen helps me when I am actually sitting in a real restaurant in London or New York.
It comes back to how our brains process unfamiliar, high-stakes situations. When a waiter suddenly approaches your table in a foreign country and fires a rapid question at you in English, your amygdala, the fear center of your brain, often registers that sudden demand for performance as a threat.
It panics.
The stress response kicks in, cognitive resources are diverted away from language processing, and you freeze. The vault door slams shut.
It is the classic deer in the headlights moment. You forget the word for water.
Right. But if you have run through that exact role play 50 times in the safety of your own kitchen, you have essentially inoculated yourself against that panic.
Oh, because it is familiar now.
Exactly. When the waiter approaches, your brain recognizes the pattern. It scans its history and says, oh, we know this script. We have ordered pasta 50 times. We have the Lego chunks ready for this. There is no danger here.
The stress response is blunted.
By simulating the environment, you preload the experience, allowing you to bypass the panic and access your vocabulary smoothly.
That is such a powerful reframing. It is exposure therapy for language anxiety. You spend a couple of minutes of your 10-minute routine playing these characters, and you are literally rewiring your brain's threat response.
It is building robust confidence in private so that it holds up in public.
But this brings up a glaring vulnerability in the system.
What is that?
If I am shadowing alone, talking to my kettle alone, and role-playing both the waiter and the customer alone, I am existing in an echo chamber.
Ah, yes.
How do I know if my pronunciation is anywhere close to accurate? How do I catch the mistakes I am inevitably making? We need a mechanism for feedback, which brings us to an essential tool in our practice blueprint.
To break out of the echo chamber, you have to introduce a feedback loop. And the source material offers a brilliant, though notoriously uncomfortable, solution. Using your smartphone's voice recorder.
The voice recorder.
They refer to it as the voice mirror.
The voice mirror. Let's just address the elephant in the room. The universal cringe factor of hearing your own recorded voice is off the charts.
It is awful.
Absolutely, everyone hates it. Through bone conduction in our skulls, our voice sounds deeper and richer to us when we speak. When we hear it played back through a speaker, it sounds thin, nasal, and entirely alien.
It is very jarring.
Now, add the layer of speaking in a foreign language where you are hyper insecure about your accent. Pressing play on that recording is low-level torture.
It is deeply uncomfortable. There is no denying that. Your brain naturally recoils, but leaning into that discomfort is where massive growth happens.
It is necessary pain.
The audio recorder is the most honest, objective teacher you will ever have. Think about why we call it a voice mirror. Before you leave your house for a job interview, you look in a physical mirror.
Naturally.
You might realize your collar is flipped up or you have toothpaste on your chin. You would not know those flaws were there unless you look in the mirror. And looking allows you to fix them before you present yourself to the world.
Right.
The audio recorder serves the exact same function for your speech.
I imagine looking in a voice mirror is horrifying at first, but highly illuminating. How exactly do we integrate this into the 10-minute flow?
It is very straightforward.
Yeah.
You open the basic voice memo app on your phone. You give yourself a simple prompt. Something as basic as, what did I do at work today? Or, what are my plans for the weekend?
Just everyday topics.
Yes. You press record, and you speak organically for 30 seconds to a minute. Then, you stop the recording, take a breath, and listen back.
If I record myself answering a basic question for 30 seconds, what exactly am I listening for? Am I trying to critique my accent?
You are not judging your accent.
Yeah.
You are listening for the mechanical errors your brain actively ignores while you are speaking.
Oh, tell me more about that.
This is a crucial concept. When you are in the act of generating speech, your cognitive load is maxed out, just trying to keep the sentence moving forward.
Right. You are just surviving the sentence.
Exactly. Your brain literally does not have the processing power to simultaneously monitor your grammar perfectly. It drops small, critical details. But when you hit play on the recording, you are no longer generating speech. Your cognitive load drops, and you can listen purely as an auditor.
Oh, that makes so much sense. When I am talking, I am just trying to get the words out. But when I listen back, I am probably going to hear myself dropping plurals, completely messing up verb tenses, or skipping prepositions.
Things you would swear you said correctly in the moment.
I might hear the recording and realize, wow, I said yesterday I go to the store instead of when.
Exactly. You catch the errors yourself. You experience the realization independently. When a teacher interrupts you to correct a mistake, it often feels shameful and disrupts your flow.
It breaks your confidence.
But when you hear the mistake yourself on a recording, it builds powerful self-awareness. You become your own tutor.
And the source material suggests taking this digital interaction a step further to simulate the unpredictability of a real conversation. They talk about practicing ping pong.
Yes, talking to yourself or recording a monologue is great for practicing the mechanics, but speaking is ultimately an interactive sport. It is a reaction.
Right.
Someone serves a thought to you, and you must rapidly process it and hit a thought back over the net.
If talking to yourself in the shower is like hitting a tennis ball against a brick wall where you know exactly how it will bounce back, having a real conversation is like playing a high-speed game of ping pong.
You do not know where the ball is going to land.
Exactly.
And you must train your response speed. The source recommends using modern tools like free AI voice chat bots or the voice-to-text features on your phone to simulate this ping pong effect.
How does that work?
You speak a question or a thought to the AI. The AI immediately responds with something unpredictable. Now, the ball is in your court, and you must instantly formulate a reply and speak it back.
Shrinking that gap between hearing the prompt and opening your mouth to answer is the entire game. Playing digital ping pong forces your brain to retrieve those Lego chunks faster and faster under simulated pressure.
It trains the quick reaction muscles required for fluid dialogue, bridging the gap between isolated practice and real-world conversation.
Okay, we have covered some incredibly practical mechanical tools today.
We really have.
We have shadowing for muscle memory. We have Lego chunks to bypass grammar calculations. We have English mode and role play to lower the effective filter. And we have the voice mirror and digital ping pong for feedback and response speed.
It is a complete toolkit.
All of these fit beautifully into a manageable 10-minute daily habit. But to make any of this mechanical work actually stick, we have to talk about the final and arguably most profound shift in the source material. We have to talk about the mindset shift.
This is where we transition from the mechanics of the mouth to the psychology of the learner. This is perhaps the most difficult part of the entire process because it requires unlearning years of deeply ingrained conditioning.
The source material explicitly calls this out: making friends with your mistakes.
Making friends with mistakes.
And I want to pause and really focus here because This goes against everything we are taught in the formal education system. When we were sitting in classrooms as children, mistakes were the ultimate enemy.
Yes, the trauma of the dreaded red pen.
It is a universal experience. You spend hours writing an English essay, trying your absolute best, and the teacher hands it back covered in bright red ink.
It feels awful.
Every red circle, every crossed out word feels like a personal failure. It is a punishment. We are trained from a very young age, in almost every culture, to believe that making a grammatical mistake means we are inadequate, uneducated, or failing at the language.
The school system grades on accuracy, not on communicative intent. So to protect our egos and save ourselves from the embarrassment of the red pen, we develop a defense mechanism.
We stay quiet.
We choose to stay silent. We decide that if we cannot say the sentence perfectly, with flawless grammar and a pristine accent, we will not say it at all. We lock the vault ourselves.
We prioritize our pride over our progress. We prefer the safety of silence to the vulnerability of being wrong. But what is so fascinating about this source material is how completely it reframes the definition of a mistake.
What's fascinating here is that the source shifts the paradigm entirely. In the real world, outside the artificial environment of a classroom, a mistake is not a failure.
Okay.
A mistake is actually tangible proof that you are brave.
Proof that you are brave. That is a massive shift in perspective.
Think about the logic behind it. If you are navigating an entire day speaking English and you do not make a single mistake, what does that actually mean?
That you are fluent.
It does not mean you are fluent. It means you are staying safely and securely inside your comfort zone. It means you are only using the basic chunks and vocabulary you mastered years ago. You're not pushing the boundaries of your ability.
Ah, I see.
If you are not making mistakes, you are simply not practicing. You are stagnant.
The philosophy they introduce in the source material is one of my favorite takeaways from this entire deep dive. They state, perfection is a cage. Communication is freedom.
That phrase should be written on the mirror of every language learner. Perfection is a cage. Communication is freedom. It resets the ultimate objective of learning a language.
Let's run a thought experiment to make this abstract idea concrete.
Sure.
Imagine you are visiting London. You are desperately trying to find the train station. You stop a native speaker on the street and you say, "Excuse me, where train station go?" Now, from an academic standpoint, that sentence is a disaster.
It really is.
The grammar is completely mangled. A teacher would cover that in red ink.
But look at it from a functional, real-world standpoint. Did the person listening to you understand what you meant?
Yes, immediately. They know you are lost, they know you are looking for trains, and they will point you down the street. The meaning was transferred 100% successfully.
Then you have achieved total victory.
Total victory.
The fundamental purpose of human language is not to pass a grammar test. It is the transfer of an idea from your brain into someone else's brain. If the listener understands your intent, you have succeeded. The ultimate goal is human connection, not flawless academic execution.
That is such an incredible weight lifted off the learner's shoulders. You do not have to be a walking dictionary. You do not have to be a grammar perfectionist. You just have to be willing to try, to stumble, and to connect.
When you finally let go of the paralyzing need to be perfect, the words stop getting stuck in your throat, the effective filter drops permanently, and the vault door swings open.
So we have journeyed through the biology, the mechanics, and the psychology of speaking. Let's pull all of these pieces together into a cohesive blueprint. Let's look at what this actually means for you, the listener, starting tomorrow, or better yet, starting today.
We've constructed a highly efficient, scientifically grounded system that respects your time. It only asks for 10 minutes.
Let's visualize how those 10 minutes might flow. Imagine you set a timer on your phone right now. You might dedicate the first 2 minutes to active shadowing.
Right.
You find a short video, you listen to a native speaker say a sentence, you pause the video, and you repeat it aloud. You focus entirely on mimicking the music, the stress, and the emotion, building that physical muscle memory in your mouth.
Then the timer chimes, and you spend the next 3 minutes reviewing your Lego block chunks. Instead of staring at lists of isolated verbs, you practice whole, pre-assembled phrases out loud.
You just run through them.
You load up your working memory with ready-to-use structures. bypassing the need for mental grammar gymnastics.
Next, you transition into 3 minutes of English mode. You walk around your living room and narrate your actions out loud, or you run through a quick role play of ordering a coffee or asking for directions. You train your brain to retrieve words in a completely safe, stress-free environment, lowering your anxiety for future real-world encounters.
And finally, you spend the last 2 minutes of your timer confronting the voice mirror.
The dreaded voice mirror.
You record yourself answering a simple prompt. Listen back to catch the small mechanical errors your brain missed. Or you play a quick rapid-fire game of voice ping-pong with an AI app to train your spontaneous response speed.
And then the timer goes off. 10 minutes. That is it. It is not a grueling 3-hour marathon that leaves you dreading tomorrow. It is entirely manageable. But those specific 10 minutes, done consistently, day after day, are the exact key to keeping the vault door open and active.
It is the daily compounding interest of practice that transforms a silent reader into a confident speaker.
We want to issue a very clear call to action for you today. You've spent months, maybe years, putting English into your brain. You have built an incredible vault of knowledge. Do not let it stay locked inside that cage. Your voice deserves to be heard.
Absolutely.
We want you to pick just one of these techniques we discussed. Maybe you start with the shattering, maybe you bravely try the voice mirror, or maybe you just narrate making your dinner tonight. Pick one and try it for just 5 to 10 minutes today. Not next Monday. Today.
And as you prepare to take that first step today, I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder. It builds directly on the mindset shift we just explored. We spend so much time in language learning thinking that fluency is an equation of addition. We are convinced it is about accumulating more flashcards, more vocabulary lists, more complex grammar rules. We believe that if we just shove enough raw data into our brains, subtly, magically, we will be able to speak.
We constantly think the vault just needs to be fuller before we are allowed to open the door.
Exactly. But what if the true secret to spoken fluency is not about adding more vocabulary to your brain at all? What if the secret is simply subtracting the fear of sounding foolish from your heart?
Oh.
When you realize that every single native speaker you admire, every fluent bilingual person you envy, was once a stumbling beginner making the exact same mistakes you are making right now, those mistakes completely change their meaning.
They really do.
They stop being embarrassments. They stop being red marks on a test that prove you are not good enough. They become the exact necessary stepping stones that pave the road to your freedom.
Subtracting the fear from your heart rather than adding words to your head. That is a profound way to look at it. The words are already in the vault. You have done the hard work of learning them. You just need to stop being afraid to push open the heavy steel door.
Just push it open.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. We hope this simple 10-minute practice guide gives you the tools and the psychological permission to finally unlock your voice. Take that first brave step today. Keep practicing, make those wonderful necessary mistakes, and we will catch you next time.